welcome back. Now, you've lost weight since you were here last time.
That's true.
Your teeth look better.
Thank you.
And we got more head tattoos, I've noticed.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh man, how
Yeah,
you doing?
I'm good. I don't think you had those. Well, no, you had one.
Uh,
I had
yeah, I
one
had
back in
one. Yeah,
February.
yeah,
So the
yeah. No,
single, I'm sorry, continue. I'm just excited to
no, I
talk
was
about
gonna say,
this.
yeah, I'm still going. I'm gonna have more. I'm gonna keep going because I'm losing my hair. I gotta cover it up somewhere.
Are we gonna do the Tim Armstrong spider web?
No, I'm also
No.
not gonna grow that crazy like homeless guy beard that he has. No offense, Tim. No
No,
offense.
no, no.
I love you.
So the day that
Yeah.
this releases, we have a brand new single from you
Mhm.
guys on the for the forthcoming album, Blacked Out.
Yep.
And I've heard it. I've heard the whole album, and this is the best Drowns album to date. I was a huge fan of the previous album. What was that? That was self-titled, right? The one with them
No,
rats.
no, that was under tension.
Under Tension, that's what it was. And as I greeted you off air, the Drowns are happy now.
Yeah.
You guys are very happy. So for all you upset, angry street punkers, you're gonna get happy listening to this album. So Blacked Out, the first single, it's the name of the album as well, correct? So
Yep. Yep.
how did it come about? I mean, last we talked, you broke news that Trev from Struggling Artist didn't get, but I did. Suck it, Trev. Um, but you guys were getting ready to go into the studio. So talk about the album real quick, or the single, or whatever you want to. It's your show, Rev. Just do what you want.
Thanks again for hitting me up. I really appreciate it, and I'm really excited to for the forthcoming amount of shit I'm gonna get from Trevor from Struggling Artists for this. No, so we went into really early this year. We went to the studio to make this album. We made it with Ted Hutt again, who's amazing. But I will say when we're in the studio, I hate him with all of my being. And once we're done with an album, we're best friends again. Um, and what I mean by that is he's so intent on getting you to do the best job that you can do, whether it's lyrics or vocals or guitar playing, drumming, no matter what it is. And he accepts no bullshit. And I mean that like militantly. Like he'll call it as he sees it. And if he's like, this doesn't help anything, this isn't good enough, like you can do better. What are you doing? Like he'll be straight up with us. And so that gets hard. But this record specifically was super hard because we made it in a different way. Andy and I wrote. This isn't an exaggeration. We wrote 100 songs total leading up to. So like for 4 months, we just wrote
Jeez.
and wrote and wrote. I wrote like 73 or 74, and Andy wrote like 25, 26. And we kept sending them to Ted, and he picked 12 songs, 12, 13 songs. And then we went to LA and we just did a ton of pre-production with them where we rebuilt all of those songs into what you heard. So we basically in the studio were playing songs we had just learned, because we had changed them all around with Ted. And that was really, really hard. It's usually we have a lot of time to practice the songs, and sometimes we'll even trial them on the road and like get them kind of like a stand-up comedian tries his jokes in smaller clubs. We'll see how the crowd reacts to the songs and if we think things need to change. But for this one, we did everything when we got there. So it was challenging for us as musicians, and challenging for us mentally in a lot of ways. We were isolated. We were in a hotel in LA for a month, and we worked so hard that by the end of it, I was like, man, I hope people like this because it took so much out of us, and I'm so proud of my guys for working so hard on it. And I hope people like it because I do without I don't mean to toot my own horn, but I do think it's the best thing I've ever been a part of musically. So I'm really excited to get it out there. And like you said, it's just fun, man. It's not a bummer.
Why are we happy these days? What's going on in your life, Rev, that we're happy?
Well, I mean, there's plenty of shit in the world to talk about that's terrible, right? Um, but we did a couple, uh, well, a good amount. We actually did like 4 or 5 European tours in the last 2 years. Um, and being over there and sharing, our music with people and the crowds that came out. Um, and I think that really reminded us why we're in it. There's don't get me wrong, you're gonna get some pissed off drown songs in the future. It's already in the works, and there's plenty of things in the world for us to get mad at. But this album specifically, when it came together, we were writing these songs that were just like, fuck it, we're tired of everything being a bummer. And when we're going on the road, it's not like we play pissed off songs and then people are pissed off. It's like we play pissed off songs and people are still happy afterwards. So it was nice to be like, fuck it, let's write a record that we really like, that really shows our influences. And I think musically, this is a step ahead for us too, because we really tried to up our game. Everybody did. And so now it was the perfect time for us to write a record to party to. I think is just what happened. Like Europe, all these shows in Europe that were going insane just reminded us that we got into all this because we went to shows that were the best time we've ever had when we were kids. And we want to just keep that cycle going.
You guys have been in Europe so much. I think you've been there more than David Hasselhoff this year. I mean, like every week you guys are going. I mean, I think there was one time you guys were home for like 10 days and then you went back out to Europe, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Can't get the band to Nashville, but I guess Poland can get you 4
this
times.
Year. No, this year we'll be. I swear to God, we'll be in Nashville this year. I swear.
I heard that back in February, Rev, but whatever. At this point, I mean, grade two. Every time they come, they're like Memphis, Louisville, Chattanooga, Birmingham. Like they just. I think I scare you guys off. You're like, we'll hit everywhere but Nashville. And I'm like, hey, I got a gazebo you guys can play in my backyard. So where was the inspiration for Blackout, especially? Because it does seem like you guys are embracing more of, I want to say maybe like a 50s, 60s rock and roll, and a little bit less of the gritty gutter rock and roll. We'll say it. It's still punk. It's still got that drowns in there. But what were we listening to that really got us into this kind of new era of the Drowns, especially with Blacked Out?
Yeah, so Andy and I are huge 50s rock and roll fans, and we always have. Like, if you listen to View from the Bottom, our first record, that's just it's literally us trying to write like 50s rock and roll songs and then making them punk. And so there's always been a lot of that in there. But this one specifically, we wanted to do we wanted to go back to that 50s sound, but also we tried to add in a lot of 70s elements, like a lot of 70s like glam elements. And with that, like that's what we listen to in the van, like right. I'm a huge T-Rex fan. Like I love Slade, and I really also things like Elton John, like,
right.
The Saturday Night, era of Elton John. Like I love that shit. And so we really wanted to add that style of like that element into it. But Blacked Out, that song, there's a song called Sword of a Thousand Men by a band called Ten Pole Tudor, which is it's a deep cut. But it was a minor hit in the late 70s. And it might be early 80s, but I think late 70s. But really, really great song. If you look, I'll send the video to you when we're done.
Please.
The music video is hilarious. It's like them in a castle dressed up as knights and stuff. It's great. But that song was the musical inspiration for Blacked Out. But all the lyrics on that's Blacked Out, the single, it's my favorite lyrics I think I've ever written. I'm super, super proud of them, and they took me a long time. But it's literally just stories of me and the guys being on the road. It's little stories of our adventures, and the chorus Blacked Out is more of me being like, I'm almost 40 right now. I'm like, getting up there, and I've been doing this for over 20 years, 25 years, and it's the idea that I never take a moment to kind of stop, and you can apply it to any situation, but I never take a moment to stop and just kind of realize where I am and what I've done. And, and just feel fortunate that I'm still alive and still doing it. So the chorus, I Blacked Out, is more like, I didn't stop to notice all these amazing things that I've done with my life. And I'm too focused on the negative, but look at all this stuff. And then the verses is like me telling little stories of us being on the road. There's if you look at the lyrics, there's actually some really ridiculous lines in there about us being crazy.
So when was the last time you blacked out, Rev? When was the last time?
At least 5 years ago.
Because when you guys announced on Instagram Blacked Out, I was like, do we need to Rev, what happened to the chip, the 4-year chip?
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm still good. Yeah.
But even the I mean, hey, there's anyways, I was gonna say something, but I won't. Even the logo for this, we got the gold logo on the black. It's very, I mean, I thought it's like ABBA. It's so like
Oh.
70s. But like some people do 70s and it's kind of like it's like a retro like cosplay. Like this is just got that vibe. Like it's not a cosplay.
Yeah.
It's just like this album time warped basically from what from when I listened to the whole thing. So you guys took a month to make the album in California with Ted Hutt. No punch throating, but there was almost a few times apparently. You guys hated each other.
It's always him and me. And I in this weird way I need that. Like
Right.
I need someone to push me, I think when someone does that, it really pushes you past your self-doubt.
Mm-hmm.
It causes you to really struggle with who you are in that artistic process. And you end up, because you're so angry, pushing past any of those walls of fear that you have just to like do what you need to do. And that's really where it comes from Ted. And like I said, when we're not in the studio, I love him with all my heart, and he's one of my best friends. It's just, but I think the problem is we work together so much. He knows how to poke the bear the right way.
Right. Now, leading up to Blacked Out, you guys released a 7-inch with Susie Moon, the very pregnant Susie Moon, and then you guys released the single, and then you guys did the video where you guys were. What was the name of the song with the black? Y'all were wearing the black pants, the white shirt, the black tie.
Oh yeah,
like Sunday school teachers.
Yeah, subculture rock and roll.
Subculture rock and roll. If you listen to Subculture rock and roll, that was a nice little segue into what Blacked Out is, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, it was weird seeing you in such tight pants in that video, and I think I made a comment on your Instagram that you look like my old Sunday school teacher. How is I mean, like the people who've listened to it, your friends in other bands, Pirate Press, like how excited are they for this single? And I mean, just after listening to it and the growth of the band, what has been the general consensus from people?
Everybody's stoked. We were a little afraid because it is, it's not a departure by any means, but it's like a new version of our sound, and it's an evolution of that. Obviously we're gonna have people who are gonna be like, yeah, well, I love the Under Tension, and it's like, we could make the same record over and over again, but no one fucking wants that. Right. So it's like, and I don't want to do that. But no, the label specifically have been incredibly supportive, and they loved it. When we first sent it to them, they were like, man, we didn't know what to expect, and we're so excited for this. And that's why there's so much like this, there's tons of like press leading up to it. There's the 7-inch, the double A side 7-inch that's coming out before the album. And yeah, there's more that I can't talk about just yet, but there's so much coming out there. They're really, really, really pushing the album, and they're putting a bunch behind it. And we couldn't be happier that they're so stoked about it.
I'm a huge simp for Skippy over at Pirate Press. I'm just a massive simp. How excited was he for this? Because I know he's he's a huge Drowns fan, so if Skippy likes it, I like it, because I do whatever Skip likes in life. But so the new logo, are we gonna be putting that on a shirt just with the gold logo?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because that would be pretty dope. I was telling you offline or even on Instagram that here in Nashville, taking my daughter to gymnastics, a guy came up to me, Adam, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, you love the Drowns." I was like, "You know who they are?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I'm not cool and unique. Like there's other dads who appreciate what you're doing." And I was telling him about like, you guys have the new album coming out and everything. And he was we're going to talk about this so you can book your plane tickets, but he's going to go from Nashville to Seattle, or is it Portland, for
Seattle,
for the album release show in February. He's got his tickets booked and everything. I hope he's not crazy, because I'm just like directing him straight to you if he's insane. But so let's talk about the album release show real quick. You guys have Noise playing with it. Um,
Yeah, we're flying Matt in for that, the singer Noise. So we're gonna fly him in for the show, and I mean, we love those guys, and they were influential in early drown stuff because when we first played, I think one of our first shows. Oh, I'm trying to think of how many it was before, but an early show for us was with Noise in Tacoma, and they were always really supportive. And then their guitar player actually recorded the Sound 7-inch that we put out. Um, with Bricks of Old Rainier and the Sound, those two songs on it. Like he recorded that in his basement. So it's cool to kind of come full circle and have them play with us for this release show because I love those guys.
so with Blacked Out, you guys are doing a 7-inch, right? For the single?
Yeah, there's like a double A side 7-inch that's coming out, and then the actual song Blacked Out itself, it'll have like there'll be flexies like promotional stuff for it, but it's just a digital release of that single.
Oh, it's just a digital on
Yeah.
well when it comes out on today. So 100 songs. I got to go back to this 100 song. So you saying 100 songs? Is everybody in the band involved in those 100 songs, or is it just guitar demos, or how are we doing 100 songs here, Rev?
So it was over a few months, and it was me and Andy, and we were just basically we wrote choruses and verses and melodies.
Right.
And so it wasn't the entire structure of the song, no bridges and things like that, but it was more melodies and the lines that go along with them, and then assisting that with the music, and then we would send those to Ted, and we did that for 4 months of just constantly sending stuff. It drove me crazy, and that was the beginning of the process. But we now have enough songs for like 3 more records.
I mean,
so.
I'm waiting for the double. I'm waiting for the deluxe edition with an additional 87 songs on it to be
Yeah,
released.
seriously.
So while you guys have been out in Europe and dodging all red states apparently, because you won't come anywhere near the South in the United States. Have you guys played the new songs? Have you played Blacked Out? Have you guys to the Europeans, and what do they think of it?
We haven't. Yeah, we haven't played any of it because we didn't want it to get online
Right.
before we like released the record. So
Okay. And that was a joke. They'll
yeah,
they'll play anywhere.
everybody knows. I mean, you're not lying. We haven't been to the South besides like Texas. I think like a year ago, but
Yeah, they'll play
yeah.
anywhere. That's a don't try to cancel him, Red States. So I want to bring you back when the album comes out so we can go down track by track because I got a lot of, I mean, like I told you, this is the best thing you guys have done. And I'm honored that I got 4 months. I can't share it with anybody, which sucks. It's like it's like getting a check for $1 million, but you got to sit on it for 4 months. But I want to bring you back for that. And the last thing is kind of like, what do you guys have planned from now until the album releases? Is it just going to be a lot of interviews? I mean, obviously Trev from Struggling Artists can, he can interview you now after I did it, but what are you guys going to be doing? Love you, Trev. What are you guys going to be doing from now until the release of the album, from the single to the release of the album?
Well, we had a lot of shows this year, and we just played our last one a couple days ago when you and I were recording this. A couple days ago in Portland at Crash Fest, which was awesome. And we are now taking a break. Like personally, we're taking a break from the road, so we are just going to do promo. So a lot of interviews and a lot of radio stuff that we're doing. And I'm hoping a lot of print interviews too, because I miss that. I miss music magazines. I
Right.
still love that medium. And I really hope that I know that there's a couple, like we have a lot of good friends at New Noise, and I'm sure we'll be doing something with them. But it's really just pushing the album. And then we're back out in January. In January, we've got shows with Agent Orange in California, and a couple in March with Agent Orange that were just announced. So for the time being, it's just pushing the record until it drops.
Now, what about the Europe thing again? Because you guys would come home and then go right back out a couple of days later. How many is it? Just the four of you? Do you have any roadies that travel with you? Any techs, or is it just the four of you guys that travel?
So over in Europe, we've been working with there's a company called Steeltown Records that is a it's like a merch printing place It's a music venue. It's a record store. And the couple who runs it, Thomas and Maria, they also rent backline for bands that are coming over. They rent vans. They drive. And Maria, we've become such good friends with them. Maria's become our tour manager over the last 2 years over there. So
Okay.
the four of us fly there, and then she picks us up, and the van's already loaded with the backline that we're going to use, and we just hit the road from there. And she handles literally everything for us.
You guys had that dope shirt on one of your European tours that was exclusive. I think she did it actually. I think you tagged her in it was a really cool design on the shirt. But I was asking about if you guys have roadies or whatever, because you guys seem to spend a lot of time with each other, just the four of you. Um,
Yeah.
any advice for bands how not to kill your bass player while you're on tour?
I fucking love Andy. I love the guy. I would say that when it comes to personalities, though, Andy and you nailed that, because Andy and I have the two most opposite personalities in the band. He is so, like, for the most part, when he's on his own, he's very quiet, very reserved, like very kind of solemn, maybe is a good way to put it. Like in the
Right.
band, he's like the least kind of like, loud and energetic guy. I mean, he's completely different on stage, but in the band, he's the most kind of like, you know, reserved. And I'm arguably the loud, crazy one in the
Right.
band who doesn't ever shut the fuck up. Um, but no, I think it's all about. I mean, we've also been through it. Like we have had fights, not just he and I, all of us, all
Mhm.
band members. We have had arguments over the last 6.5 years of being in this band. I think in the end, though, it kind of comes down to who you're in a band with
Right.
and who they really are. So as far as giving advice, I would say find people that you truly love being around and remind yourself that you're annoying too.
Right.
Like when they're pissing you off, remind yourself that you have probably upset them that day also,
Right.
and level the playing field.
Well, it's like when you'll see a band like Aerosmith or whatever, and they'll be like, we've been best friends for 50 years or whatever. Playing in a band, it's hard, but like you get off stage and you guys get on 5 separate private jets and go to the next show.
Yeah,
Like when you're in a
yeah,
van with each other and there's no roadies, there's no, everybody doesn't have their own individual manager. It gets a little bit more interesting than just being like, oh, I'll see you tomorrow night in the next city, and then you're
it,
gone. So
yeah. It's very intimate. I like just nowadays, just by the smell, I can tell you who farted. That's how close we are.
take
No,
hey
you
take
you
take that, Trev. You're not getting that on your show.
no, you can truly like, I know those guys inside and out. And
Right.
if you get past the like, if you get past the uncomfortable part of it at times when like, arguments arise and you're navigating how to talk about hard things, or someone's going through a rough patch and it's affecting you by how they're acting or something, like if you can work through those things a few times and you truly love what you do creatively, you can start to just, make amends with any of those situations.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to is like, how important is what you do and how important are the people you do it with. And realistically, that you can say that for any job, you know what I mean? Any job at all. Um, that's a buddy named Vince once told me, um, let's see if I can quote this correctly. There's like 3 things that make a good job, right? Do you like the people you work with? Do you like the work that you do? Or is the money good? And if you have 2 out of 3, you should stay. And if you have 1 out of 3, you should leave. He
Right.
told me that in my early 20s. And I still think about that today. And luckily in my band and now, my job as a musician, I have all 3. So I have any problem I have to just remember that and be like, I have no real problems. Like,
Right. Right.
it's never that bad.
I know. I mean, you get to go to Germany like every week and play a show. So you complain about that. Last question for you on the Blacked Out single release, because you're going to come back. Best place, and I see this on Instagram and I'm like, I can convince him to come here because we got pinball machines in Nashville.
That's all you got to do.
Best place. Who's got the best pinball machines in the entire world? Because you're always, I mean, look, like some guys like go on tour and they're like, posting about their parties or like their cool hotel rooms. And with Rev, it's always like a weird guitar or a pinball machine.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
or Andy. Andy's there too, usually.
yeah. No, yeah, we all play. The whole band plays pinball, and just in Portland a couple days ago, we were playing a Led Zeppelin machine at the pizza place near the venue. Um, uh, in the United States, I think my favorite arcade I've ever been to is just outside of Portland, and it's called Next Level, and they've got like 480 machines. It's just this
Dang.
massive room. And it's incredible, and it's $20 and everything's on free play, so you can play for hours and it feels great. But there's a place that touring guys know uh in Tempe, Arizona, called the Yucca Tap Room, and it's a venue, and directly next door is Electric Bat Arcade, which is hands down my favorite place to play pinball in the United States. I got my places in Seattle that I love, but on the road, it's all about the Yucca Tap Room and the Electric Bat Arcade.
Where did the love for the pinball machine come from for you?
So I had a buddy who passed away. Without getting too into the story, I had a buddy who was very supportive of my music named Lenny. Rest in peace, big guy. And he was incredibly supportive of my music from the moment we met. And he would fly to shows
Hmm.
all over the United States and always show up. And we would always go play pinball. And I was terrible at it, like fucking horrible at it. I didn't know what I was doing at all. And when he passed, I put a little get together, and we went and played pinball in his honor, and like left some quarters on a machine, and we're like, next game's for you. And I started just going to this place all the time, and it was called Flip Flip Ding Ding. It's not in Seattle anymore, unfortunately, but I would go to this bar, and one of the people who worked there was this lady named Alexa, and she came up to me one day and was like, "Hey man, how you doing?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm good." And she was like, "You've been coming in here a lot." And I was like, "Yeah, I know." And she goes, "You miss Lenny, don't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And she was like, "Well, if you're gonna keep coming in here, uh, you want me to show you how to play? Because you're fucking terrible." And so I was like, "Please." And so she gave me some pointers, and I really fell in love with it. And then Seattle has the largest pinball league in America, like a bowling league. And so, oh yeah, there. If you
What
don't
is
know
a
anything,
what is a pinball league?
it's just like a bowling league where you show up and teams play against each other. Well, there's also national and world competitions in pinball. It's
For real?
it's this whole like underground, like amazing, like super subsect of nerd. But so I joined her team on the league, and then we actually won the Seattle championships that year. And now I love it. And now that I'm home, I'm actually going to compete. I compete by myself too, like in competitions when I'm home. So it's actually like a huge part of my life.
So when the Drowns don't tour in 2025, it's because Rev is going national with his
Nah,
his
they made
pinball
me
tournament.
promise. No, they made me promise. They were like, "Hey man, like we know like you've gotten so good, but like we got a fucking tour, dude."
Enjoy this next coming Drowns album, because it's gonna be the last one for 4 years as Rev travels the world playing Kiss pinball machines all across the globe.
I would love that.
You're gonna
Uh,
the band's gonna just blow up, and then you guys are just gonna be like, how some people do, like, get out the vote things, or they're sponsored by Miller Lite or whatever. You're just gonna be like wheeling pinball machines out on stage and just be like, this brand right here gets us through our tour. Like, I'm gonna see you on a commercial for during the Super Bowl for pinball machines. You're gonna bring them on back.
we've definitely made the joke of getting a road case for a pinball machine that we could then load into a venue to the green room when we play, and so we can just play on that before we have to go on.
I mean, when you don't party after shows or anything, what else are you gonna do? It's
when when we played the last time we played the Electric Bat Arcade, we played at the Yucca Tap Room in Arizona. We showed up 4 hours early, and we played for 4 hours, and then we did our sound check, and then we played until our set, and then we played after we were done. We played for like 10 hours that day. It was awesome. was
when
beautiful.
I used to travel with bands on promo tours, my thing was bowling. I'd always go.
Yeah.
I bowled on 6 different continents, and I could be like, oh
Yeah.
no, this like if you go to Tokyo, you got to go here. So I get the nerd thing. I don't even know the last time I played pin. I mean, I know there's a great arcade in Nashville for when you come here. I could take you to, and you'd have to show me because I bet I'm horrible at it. Like,
Yeah, it's everybody is at first. Yeah.
I'll get like 5 points. I don't even know if that's a lot or not, but I would get like 5. All right, so
It's fun, man. It's fun.
we're gonna bring you back as we get ready for the album. We can go down track by track because I'm a simp for Skip, so I don't want to piss Skippy off here by breaking street dates or anything. And then, he won't take a picture with me when I see him. But so we'll bring it back when the album comes out. He's gonna get a restraining order after this interview on me. But congratulations. This is the best stuff you guys have ever done. And I'm not just ever, because every band always says like, oh, this is our best album we've ever done. And then usually it's like garbage. This is the best stuff the Drowns have ever done. This is the best stuff. And I wish I could. I mean, there's like lines and songs that when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, that's a dope line. And I don't want to break street date, Skip. I don't want to break street date. But Blacked Out is today. It's released today digitally all across anywhere you listen to music. Check out the Drowns on Instagram. You guys are at the Drowns, right? Just at the Drowns.
Yep.
I do got to apologize to you because I got ragged on by people because the last interview we did one of, I think we did like 20 shorts for you, but one of the shorts was typed out as the Downs.
Oh yeah, whatever.
And I got and I just want to tell your fans, leave me alone. It was a mistake because I was getting like DMs that were like, "You jackass," and I was like, "It was a mistake." So my apologies to the Drowns Nation.
No, man, they're meticulous about that. I think they used to be worse when we first started, and I think they all just realized that I have a very limited public school education from a very small redneck town in Washington. So they've laid off. I still make mistakes, and nowadays they've left me alone about it. So.
I mean, it was one typo, and they literally like Instagram DMs, like my phone's going off, and I'm like, oh, they must really love what we did here. And then it's like, you spelled the name wrong. How can you not know the name? And I'm like, autocorrect, my bad. And then I was just like, there's like one dude that was like, you should just take the whole thing down. You embarrassed yourself. And I'm like, sorry.
You should be like, why the fuck aren't you this passionate about the music?
But I will say, when the person told me I sucked and that I suck at everything in life and how I spelled the name wrong, it was okay. I cried for a couple of days, but now Andy and I from the Drowns are cool. No, it wasn't him. No.
That'd be so funny.
That's why it's always you. Andy refuses because I spelled the name wrong. But
I love that.
Congratulations on the best release you guys have done to date. I will bring you back to talk about the full album because I have a lot of awesome opinions and I want to hear. I was thinking like, are we going to go like track by track and just be like, where were you when you wrote this song? You'd be like, it's a cover song. I'm like, okay, next song. Where were you? Like where are we going to go? Because this album, like, I'm going to tease it 4 months out. I actually was excited for life listening to it. Like I was like, this is just
awesome.
This is just a great album. Like it just makes like, I'm listening to it right now in fall and the leaves are turning here in Nashville. I'm like, this is just a beautiful, like when life is beautiful, this is the soundtrack to a beautiful life. The Drowns, Blacked Out. There we go. I just did it. Skip.
Thank you.
Call me Skip. We can be friends. But anyways, thanks. Hey, Reb, thanks for your time. Congratulations on the new release, and we'll talk to you soon.